Hello, I'm Steve and welcome to the second step of Ielts. In the first lesson of Chapter 1, we're going to discuss how to talk about preferences. Questions about preferences are one of the most common types of questions in simple conversations. They can be about anything you favour or prefer, things, places, or even certain conditions. Although it's quite simple to talk about these things, without a good structure, you can lose coherence during the talk. Here are some sample questions under this category. Talking about preferences generally shows a positive feeling. So in order to show this positive feeling, it's ideal to speak a little faster. In contrast, stating an answer that presents a negative feeling usually requires the use of slower speech rate. And when giving additional details, you can use the standard speech rate. In addition, it's ideal to emphasize or put stress on your choice or preference, as well as the reasons and other important details about it. Say them louder and with a higher pitch. On the other hand, use lower pitch and a softer voice when talking about the things you do not favour. The ideal structure in answering questions about preferences is PRE, because this structure allows you to explain and give details to your answer. Use cohesive devices to give direction to your answer. State your preference, give reasons why you prefer it, and cite at least one example to support your answer. The first thing that you have to mention is what you prefer or like. The word prefer is usually followed by either a gerund, verb ing, or an infinitive, to verb. A gerund is a noun formed by adding ing to a verb. When stating a preference using a gerund, the word prefer plus verb ing may be followed by either to or over. Look at these examples. An infinitive begins with the word to, followed by the base form of verbs. You cannot add the suffixes s, es, ed or ing to an infinitive because an infinitive does not function as a verb. Rather, it functions as a noun, an adjective or an adverb in a sentence. When using an infinitive in expressing a preference, it is usually followed by rather than. Comparing the things mentioned by the examiner can also be a part of your answer. To form the comparative form of adjectives, add er at the end of the adjective if it is a one-syllable word, add ier if the adjective has two syllables and ends in y, and add the word more before the adjective if it has more than two syllables. The typical structure used in comparing is verb ing plus comparative adjective plus than plus verb ing. Look at these examples. Other than the words I prefer, you can also use various expressions to show the range of your vocabulary. Here are some examples. Using cohesive devices in introducing your reasons is also necessary. You can use cohesive devices such as because, due to, and the reason is for giving reasons. These cohesive devices can be used in the middle or at the beginning of a sentence, just like in the following examples. Citing an example is a way to give additional details to your answer. You cite an example to support the points you have mentioned and to lengthen your answer. For example, for instance, and as an example are some of the cohesive devices you can use in this step. Take note of the verb tenses that you're going to use when answering. You can use the past tense when talking about an experience, and when talking about recurring events or examples, use the simple present tense. Adding details is also necessary, so be sure to be consistent with your verb tenses. Observe how these three steps were used in this sample answer. That concludes our lesson on stating preferences. Following these 3 steps would help you answer questions about preferences more easily. Remember to observe the proper use of cohesive devices and give emphasis to your points. Until next time.